Hey everybody, well I thought I'd make an update video on the Losi 8XE Ride Buggy. I have taken mine to a track a couple different times and actually recommend my neighbor to get one as well, what you're seeing here. So this is my neighbor's, which is kind of disassembled. We're just fixing a couple things that happened to break. Not the fault of the buggy, he's just getting used to the track and how to jump a car, all that stuff. So just making a couple small repairs, waiting on some parts. Mine's down here getting some maintenance as well. Had a very strange problem with mine, which has been at the track a couple different days now, and his, which we basically just broke in today at the track. Oh, where to start? Well, my neighbors, we get to the track and the first thing that he mentions is, hey, it's not really driving straight. So I'm like, okay. I take the transmitter, drive it around. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I can't get the trim to like make this thing go straight. Take it to the pit and wiggle the tires. Well, through troubleshooting and a series of events, I determined that the front right wheel here was missing a bearing in the outer side of the hub. So each one of these hubs has two bearings, one on the outer side, one on the inner side. It was missing the outer bearing. So of course that was not allowing the wheel to turn in a straight motion. It was basically oscillating without that second bearing in there. So how the heck this buggy came without a bearing from factory, I'm not sure. I know they're mass produced and these things can get missed, but that's just crazy to me. So yeah, and it's not like the bearing disintegrated. I mean, there weren't any any balls from the bearing in there. There was no evidence of, like a bearing case or metal shavings, nothing. It's not like the bearing fell out while we were taking it apart. The bearing was just missing from the outside of the hub. Very bizarre. Luckily, we were able to steal one from his Traxxas Max, and just throw it in here, but it's just like, man, what the heck? Like, how does that happen? So maybe I'm more frustrated than I need to be, but this is advertised to be a buggy that you can take out of the box, drop it on the track like you're a beginner, and have at it. Wasn't anticipating my neighbor to go through the learning experience of having a ready-to-ride buggy come without a bearing in the hub. Just strange. Now, I noticed with my buggy today at the track, same day, right? Second issue, that the rear right shock, I had the shock disassembled over here, the shock boot actually had a bit of residue on it. I washed it off, or I wiped it off rather, but it basically had shock fluid with a mixture of clay and dirt from the track, so it looked and felt like grease, even though it was just dirty shock oil. So that prompted me to investigate when I got home. I took apart the front shocks on my buggy down here, and they were completely fine. Yeah, the oil was a little dirty, but it wasn't bad. I mean, it was mostly clear, just a couple small chunks of dirt. Nothing super unusual. Then I take apart the rear shocks, which I knew this one was going to be the problem, right? The right side rear shock was leaking, which is this guy. Well, before I even disassembled the shocks, I did a field test. As you can see with this shock, there's no fluid. There's a little bit of fluid in it right now, but because I'm troubleshooting, it's empty. As you can see, the threads are basically flush, more or less. Let me fully extend it again. Now let's take the problem child shock. Let's do the same thing. Whoa, what the heck? It's bottoming out. I can't even get the threads to go inside of the shock housing. So I took apart the shocks. First of all, I drained the fluid. This is the fluid from all four shocks. Prior to draining this shock, the problem child shock, this was perfectly clear. Yeah, I've a couple chunks, small chunks of dirt, but this was clear. This is how dirty it was. This was the only shock that caused this fluid to get this dirty. It was basically completely clear prior to draining that shock. And I could tell too. I took off the cap, and let me tell you what, this sucker had some dirty fluid in there. And it was down a couple millimeters from where it should be because it was leaking. Anyways, took apart the shock. Not sure if you can really tell on camera, but this shock shaft is longer than this one. Which makes sense, right? Because when I compress each one, this one clearly, the threads can't make it inside of there. I measured it from the piston to the end of the threads. This one was 68 millimeters, and this one was 64 millimeters, approximately. Why? I don't know. Does that contribute? Does that extra 4 millimeters contribute to the leak problem? I don't know. I'm very frustrated. So actually, you know what? Before I contact Horizon Hobby, let's just look together here in the manual. Let's look at the parts. So let's see. Front. The shocks would have their own page. Maybe I already passed it. Here we go. Rear shock. Rear shock. Rear shock. Rear. I see one part number there. Okay, I'm going to go look up this part number and make sure that the shock shafts that... I'm going to make sure this isn't like a pair with two different lengths, is I guess what I'm saying. So I'll be right back here, guys. All right, I'm back, guys. I did confirm this part number here for the rear shock. F for front, R for rear. This is a single part, does not come in a set. One part number is supposed to be for both rear shocks. So why in the world is the shock that's causing the problem 4 millimeters longer? I don't know. Did it contribute to the leaking? Again, don't know. I'm very frustrated. I'm either going to post a follow-up video, or I'm just going to clip at the end of this video here what Horizon Hobby had to say about this. But I'm going to contact their support and just try and figure out what the heck's going on. So either way, yeah, this is the current update. Not really sure what to think about it, but let me know what you guys think in the comments below. So see you guys next video.